Hey guys, this is Azra here, and thank you so much for coming back to join me with the Netrunner Regionals held at the end of May in Bangor, Northern Ireland. We're into the grand final now, where Darryl McDowell has fought his way back through the lower bracket to meet Ben Fox, who actually was the person who knocked him down in the first place. Darryl's going to need to win 2 games against Ben to take the title, whereas Ben just needs to hold on for 1 game to take the regional win. In this game, we're going to be having Darryl on the left-hand side playing D'Angeli Sol, and Ben is going to be rocking his Noise deck. I'll run through the decks and a couple of quick notes about them in a second, but I want to just preface this, guys, that this was the longest game of the day, and unfortunately the camera actually cut out on this video in the very last turn of the day, about halfway through. I'll not spoil anything at this stage, but just to preface that the last about 15 seconds of this game unfortunately was actually lost. It is a real nail biter and a really enjoyable game to watch, so please do enjoy this, and I'll run through what happened at the end as we all gathered round and paid very close attention to this great game. So Ben kept the starting hand as Noise, pretty reasonable one, looks like Wildside and Street Peddler in there with a David and a Parasite. Darryl, meanwhile, mulliganed his. So this New Angeles Sol deck, pretty interesting and did really well in the day, particularly the effectiveness of News Hounds being really strong in the meta right now when there's a current in play, and a vast array of different currents coming out there. Very importantly, I'm just having a look through his deck right now to see if he does run Cerebral Static, and I don't think Darryl was actually running Cerebral Static at this point, because that deck really does shut down Noise's ability, something shocking. Targeted marketing, though, used against cards like Cash, David, Faust, can completely delay a Noise game. And we're going to be kicking off the Noise deck. Nothing too strange and startling. It is a little bit horizontal as a pop-up window goes down over R&D and a Tolbert over HQ. A little bit horizontal. Denial does run Hacktivist Meeting and a Salset Slums, and as well as a one-of Archive interface. Not sure if we'll see too much of that from this game. So Sweeps and 2 Ice come down from the Corp, and meanwhile Aesops, Adjusted Chronotype, and is that a David or a Data Sucker possibly, hit the Street Peddler for Noise. Pretty nice array of starting cards for him. Wildside hits the table, and a good note, like I must commend Ben, and kept everyone giggling. There was a big audience around the table at this point. They'd all kind of been staying watching the final 4 games of the day, and you'll probably get some camera check at points because Ben was keeping everyone thoroughly entertained with some of his noise sound effects. Wildside in particular, a very popular one. So the early setup, I'm not sure if he's going to go for the Chronotype or the Aesops off the Street Predator. I imagine he's probably going to pop in the Chronotype. Darryl, meanwhile, ices, installs into the new remote and hedge funds. And Street Peddler is indeed going to bring out that Chronotype. So the engine is online. Start of turn 2 for Noise. David and Aesops hits the bin. So the Aesops obviously is a bit of a sad loss, but straight away Ben is going to be getting all the draw he needs. He just needs now the economy to back that up. So do you check this early card here? Against Sol, sitting on 13 credits. It could just be a Sansan, it could just be a Jackson, but it could be an Astro, and Ben is going to go and check it. Darryl having a bit of a thought here. Decides to res an Archangel, which, yeah, is going to get Wildside popped back to hand for Ben. And behind it, looks like a Sansan City Grid. Couldn't quite see it there. But that's a pretty tough face check. But I almost feel you're in the grand final of the day. You cannot let an Astro get snuck by you. And that's going to cost Ben a click and 3 credits then to get this Wildside back out. Exactly the hit he didn't want. So back over to Darryl's side. Takes a credit, restructures for a bit of burst economy. So Darryl is running a couple of big bits of ice. He does have 3 Topus. There's also an Ash in there as well, and 3 Sansan City Grids, so a few expensive things to res. I did have a quick look down his influence there and did see that he's not running Cerebral Static, but he is running Paywall Implementation. Be curious to see if we see that. Cash hits the table for Ben, which is fantastic. Just what he needs to give himself a little boost. And if you've seen the previous games in the playlist, guys, you'll know that Ben had a couple of games where his virus mills were on point. And let's see what he sees. Wow, yeah, so he grabs a global food actually off the first mill. Not too bad. And hitting a Sandstone City Grid isn't too shabby either. So Daryl obviously doesn't have access to a current in his hand to trigger that New Angeles Soul ability, which is pretty prevalent. Getting an early targeted marking out can really be a game changer for that ID. It is important to note, and credit to one of our local players who playtest a lot with Daryl, Gary, who pointed out to me, as targeted marking hits the table, that if you have a current active, whether it's a runner or a corp, doesn't matter which side, Newshound will still gain the extra subroutine. And I believe Cash was named only to be instantly overwritten by the hacktivist meeting. So yeah, just looking at Ben here, the lack of an Aesop's definitely holding him up somewhat. I'm not sure if using that hacktivist quite so early was maybe a little bit of an overeager play from him, because should Daryl be able to score out Parasite, if the table score out an agenda, it will overwrite the hacktivist. You can see at the top of the table there, for anyone not too familiar, the prizes on the day were an acrylic card, double-sided Palana and Jesminder. And here we go, there's the install, there's the res, and there's the score of the Bale, which is going to go ahead and kill the hacktivist. But Ben pointing out that to res that is going to have to be a card discarded at random. Yeah. So basically, Ben should not have revealed that Enigma face up. He sort of held his hand up and said to Darren, Darren said, look, no problem, it's not a biggie. It's not a big card. Thankfully, that wasn't too important, but a bit of a misplay on Ben's part to reveal that there when it should have been discarded at random and not actually seen by the runner. Cash is going to be named again as targeted marking hits the table. Down comes Clot for another mill. Archives undefended again with a couple of new face down cards in there. And we're timed up 2-2, and Ben needs to find a way to deal with this Sandstone City Grid. And he's going to check the bin, and wow, Daryl not too impressed with that at all. The Astro is going to come down. Ben absolutely on point. 4 mills, 2 of them agendas so far, and hitting an Astro, one of those 2 is fantastic for him. If Daryl had received that off the top of this deck, this game would be looking very different right now. So it looks like a Newshound going over archives. And Wildside kicks in, and there's an Aesop's pawn shop. And wowee, now Ben is about to turn on his econ. He actually drew 2 Aesop's there. Don't think he's seen his Faust yet, so can't really do a great deal with these extra cards he has in his hand. Just go take 3 credits, trash off the extra Aesop's, and pass back. So at 4-2 now, Ben's sitting reasonably pretty. I mean, he can kind of slow the game down a little bit. The cash econ denial against Noise, though, is pretty incredible. Like, most Noises don't run any sure gambles, any data cast whenever you're going down to the heavy mill. And wow, Daryl's going to draw, sweep, and then install in that Sandsam. And you've got to imagine it's not an agenda, right? You've got to be thinking, that's not an end of run on the Archangel. And even if something got bounced back, I would still access it. So it can't be an agenda. But is it something you can leave there? Ash were pretty bad. Cyberdex is a very likely possibility. Ben actually pointing at the card to Daryl and saying, is that a Cyberdex? And Daryl holds up his hands to say, come on in, and you can find out. So both guys pretty jovial actually. They consider this is the very last game of the sort of day for them. They know they're into the grand final together. It's first or second place at this point. And both still in very good spirits, which I love to see. And just how ballsy would it be for Darrell to have installed an agenda here? Is he playing around clock? There's no NAPDs in Darrell's deck, so there's no 4-2s. That would really take advantage of being never installed there, just sat and then advanced 3 times. We're really relying on the traditional AstroScript, Beal, 15 minutes and 3 global food in this case. You can tell just as this game's kind of slowed down a little bit here, and both players are kind of trying to suss each other out, that the quiet, the kind of quiet has come across the people watching. A couple of credits then for Ben. And it's going to be just a straight up purge. So triple click purge will clear all viruses. Also get the clot discarded, and I'll reset the parasite back to 1 counter at the start of Noise's turn. So it's not a bad turn really, to be honest. I feel like that was a good decision from Darrell, but you can't be bad against that whenever you're Ben. You've still got plenty of low cost viruses. So you're talking about lampreys, you're talking about data suckers, things that you'll get your mills and be able to ace ups to get the money back. He hasn't actually drawn into his second or third caches yet, so far the targeted marking has not really prevented a lot. There's a lamprey. But he hasn't seen his Faust, importantly. No Faust, no Grimoire, so nothing to get him into this next stage where he can start really, really turning the screw. He's going to run archives, click 2. You're going to see this new sound, I imagine, yep. Now, bit of a laugh here. Because this is Newshound, but if it looks slightly different to you, it's because it's actually a German Newshound. Darrell actually got his cards early before they came out in the UK, got them in Germany, I believe it was, or abroad anyway, when he was away, to get them a little bit earlier than they came out here. But it does mean that it's slight confirmation of the exact wording on the card needs to be confirmed. Yeah, so they're just talking really here about the fact that it hasn't ended the run after the trace. It's actually something I'd be curious to get anyone who's watching your opinion on this. I know personally me, I'm not super for cards in another language being played in a country where you're having a regional or a national. However, I definitely understand that everyone at this level of competition should know what all the cards are. And as long as the person playing them is able to be very clear about any confusion points, which I believe Darrell was, then I think it's relatively okay. So 3 Deja Vus in hand, and I bet you Ben would love to be Deja Vuing for a cache here. He may have to go and grab something like Data Sucker. I don't know if he's had another 1 cost virus at the bin yet though. Parasite going to come down on Newshound though. I like this a lot. So Darrell's got 15 minutes in hand there, which he could just score out here nice and quick if he wanted to. We still don't know what this card in the standstand is. I'm sticking with Cyberdex as my prediction. Doesn't look like there was anything in the bin there. And yes, that's 15 minutes. And target marking stays out on cash. No change of that for Darrell. A few more cards I think Ben would love to be sacrificing to Faust in his hand right now. A lot of duplicates and nothing really to do with them. And these 2 parasites, they're just putting enough pressure on Darrell to have him really having to continually think about purging. The 6 strength Archangel, though, is not going to die quickly, and even strength 4 in the News Hound, it does take a bit of time. Yeah, it looks like Ben's really looking at seeing what a Deja Vu combo would be, and now that Lamprey's been sold, it might be Lamprey Data Sucker to get some cheap viruses in here just to keep the money flowing. Goes with Clot, actually. Clot Data Sucker, okay. The Clot surprises me a bit. I feel like he needs to be careful about how he plays this because it's likely that Daryl's going to purge over the next 2 or 3 turns. He might try and urge the purge now. Urge the purge. Yeah, so by playing this Clot, he might entice Daryl to do it now. He's thinking about the Data Sucker, but he doesn't have the memory. Oh. I do believe this gets picked up pretty quickly because I was actually over Ben's shoulder for this game. And here we go.
Let's be honest, this is never dying. It's gonna die.
And Daryl just pointing out the fact that that Archangel, he doesn't predict it's ever going to die, and Ben took a bit of umbrage and said, nope, it's going to die. And a mini game inside the Greta game is now set. The stage is set for the Archangel Parasite battle. So trying to see Daryl's hand. It looks like wraparound. Don't think there was a biotic in there. I don't actually, it can't be a biotic. It's not running biotic. If it was something purple, it would be Ash.
Well, maybe it's not dying. Whatever, man. First victory. Achievements shit.
So yeah, really slow game from Daryl here. Not sure what he's kind of missing or waiting for here. It looks to be a little bit tight on money.
Then we will sell one sucker of the data.
That sucker's going to get sold by Ben. The archive interface could be interesting here if he was able to like remove Cyberdex virus suites from the game. Even just removing things like economy from the game could be reasonably good. And it's this tricky point as a noise player where you don't want to start clicking to draw. You've got the draw engine on board, you're getting 2 free cards every turn, but you're stuck looking at your hand going, this isn't doing a lot for me. The 2 I've had worse, 2 Deja Vus which could be leading to caches if targeted marketing wasn't in play, and really the targeted marketing is doing such a good job of just holding this game up. A Grimoire or a Faust would change things pretty drastically for Ben. Meanwhile, on Daryl's side, I wasn't sure if that was the wraparound that hit there, but he needs to get some end the run in front of this remote and start installing agendas. Ben decides to just take 3 credits and drop the archive interface. And there is a global food in hand for Daryl. Ben being very reluctant to poke and face check this ice is an interesting one. There isn't anything too brutal in there. You've got Tollbooths, which are obviously going to tax you 3 credits. We know there's a pop-up over... I actually got this the wrong way around. I just realised, sorry, I said at the very start of the video that it was Tollbooth over HQ, but it's not. It's actually Tollbooth over R&D and pop-up over HQ. I forget that Daryl actually plays with them that way.
It is both pretty and big, yes.
Wild side kicks in. Cash and Faust.
I really want to make a have you seen the size of my deck joke, but...
So selling the Data Sucker, popping down the Faust, or the Faust, sorry, or maybe sell off the Clot and keep the Data Sucker to try and build up some counters for the potential kill of the News Hound. If that is a Cyberdex though in the Sansan, that's not going to come to fruition.
Old magic reference. I will sell.
Ben actually decides to sell nothing this turn.
That is your prerogative.
Interesting one for me. No. So yeah, Ben misplayed a little bit there. I think he realised, but he carried on. He decided to skip the stutter turn and not sell anything, but then installed the Faust and realised he was on 4 memory, but he's stuck with that. Cash, Lamprey, Mimic gonna hit his hand. And these 2 caches now just burning a hole in Ben's pocket. With no lamprey, no medium, the threat of single access isn't that bad, but he's going to run HQ.
Oh, perfect. Yep. It has a trace 3.
Oh, sorry, no, he's running archives actually, just clarified.
It is.
So post 2 cards. I will give you a mimic, and I will give you.
So, with it being strength 1, he just needs a break and a break for the end of the run and a trace.
And then?
Doesn't look like there's a Cyberdex in the bin. There is a Jackson, the paywall implementation, another News Hound, and an Ash. Wow, okay.
See all those agendas? Oh, wait, no.
There's a lot of knowledge agenda there.
It is.
But a serious amount of kind of key pieces there. The Jackson and the Ash in particular. And again, Ben just playing a little bit out of turn. He's milling after he's run archives, and he's also forgetting, I think, that he was on 4 memory there. An important thing to note here, and again an interesting discussion point, is that Ben played 3 games and then had to basically sit for about an hour, hour and a half while the lower bracket finished up, and had to sort of sit and wait with not playing any Netrunner, kind of coming off the boil a little bit before coming back fresh into play against Daryl, who had basically been playing non-stop. And I think depending on the type of player you are, that can affect you in different ways.
It's his turn. It's my turn.
So Daryl is going to res a Jackson. Wow, so it was a Jackson and not a Cyberdex all along. And what are we going to see ship back here? I don't know if more ice is really what it needs. It might just be economy. So Jackson Hedge Fund. It looks like a decision between Newshound, Ash, and Restructure potentially. Takes the Newshound, which I think is a very good decision. Newshound is such a vicious piece of ice and soul once the currents are rolling. So the shiny card that, guys, just to remind you, is targeted marketing, currently still sat on cash. Definitely doing work, and it's one of those cards where you struggle from the corp side sometimes to realise how much damage it's doing, but when you can see it from a spectator point of view, you really see that Ben has been slowed down by this. And install single advance. So Newshound's gonna die, which frees up a memory pretty critically for Ben. Everyone having a little bit of giggle at Ben, who broke out the gang sign guns there. Very, very happy that Newshound was dying, only to exclaim that Archangel would be next. So if you're Ben here, you gotta know any advanced card in most high-level MBN decks are going to be agendas. It's very uncommon to see traps. I don't think he has, and I've had worse in hand, but does he draw a couple of times and then just run at this server with Faust, hoping not to see a Turing or a Swordsman, of which there are neither. Wow, and he decides to finally bite the bullet. He's going to play the cash and give what he exclaimed was infinite money to Daryl, who's going to net 20 credits from these 2 cash. 2 mils. And wow, look at this. It's now a race. It's now a mill versus money race. How fast can Ben find those milled agendas before Daryl scores out? Over memory again here. I think we're going to have to see one of these caches trash probably. And then runs archives, final click, sees targeted market, Astro Script, and a Jackson. Daryl having a think now. All the caches are now pretty much irrelevant. It might call Levy, might call Medium. Might call Deja Vu. 1 in the bin.
David?
Daryl calls David, which is pretty telling for his deck. So that tells you Gutenbergs, Assassins, Tollbooths, all those kind of big ice that David usually deals with pretty well are now more alive. So for Daryl, that really, when looking at his deck, it's Wraparound, it's Gutenberg, it's Little Engine, and it's 3 Tollbooths. I like this decision. And do you know what? This is where an experienced Soul deck player really comes in, knowing your opponent's decks. Daryl, though, purges with what is probably an agenda in the remote. Very ballsy play.
Cash for cash.
Ben hasn't seen either of his 2 Grimoires, just run a single Mimic. I'm sure if he could see either of those, he'd be pretty happy. A single medium, sorry. And the caches are now free. No longer do we have to be oppressed by the corporate overlords stopping us playing cash.
2 trashing cash the original? No. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Fucking trash the shit.
Ben just very, very happy to actually be getting caches. 2 mils and then a run. Nothing.
Aesop don't care what it is. His business model is entirely invalid. But
How many copies of an empty cache has he got on the shelf? Amazing. Sorry.
So, like, just to pause for a second and think about this from Daryl's point of view, he's got to get this agenda scored out here, but a Tollbooth under Archives could stop him losing the game. And there goes something. Not sure what that was installed, actually didn't catch it. Wasn't the Tollbooth, might have been a Newshound. Wow, and advances twice to 3 advancements and passes the turn.
You really don't own advancement. I know. Parasite Rankers.
What a game we're on here.
it's coming.
How many programs you got?
Cash for cash. I don't know.
He's got a man to do that for.
People shout out whenever he was over his head and get him.
Now, if that is a Global Food Initiative, or potentially a Beal, either could put Daryl to 3 points, and up by 3 points to 6 and tie this game up, and then all of a sudden, it's going to be next point wins. Now, there isn't any breaking news in Daryl's deck. He has scored the only 2 for 1 in the 15 minutes.
I will take a non-mandatory draw.
All of your draws are non-mandatory. Every single one of them.
Why side is he not mandatory?
Well, he chose to play the wild side.
That makes it mandatory.
Not really.
It's mandatory for that time you're
No, it's not. I have played an Anarch without wild side. I didn't have any wild side in my deck, but then I am on this side.
A bit of discussion going between the guys and the difference between a mandatory and voluntary draw, and how most Anarchs these days tend to play wild side as a mandatory thing. Just 3 credits for Ben. He's slowing down and eventually saying to Daryl, take this agenda, tie up this game, and then let's see what happens. He advances it once. It is a GFI. And we are tied 6-6.
David.
Big, deep breath. A single install and a single advance. Score is 6-6. Daryl has plenty of money. That's a 10 with 2 3s, 6 and 2s, and a couple of singles there as well. He is loaded. 24 credits, I believe. Ben's got to do something here. He knows he needs to either get in and access that card, or he needs to get lucky on mills. I don't think Daryl has anything in his hand. I think that's a hedge fund and a Sansan City Grid, maybe. Tollbooth as well. In his hand, Lamprey, Data Sucker, Parasite could play 3 viruses this turn and make the Hail Mary. There is no Jackson on the table. 6-6, the grand final game of the day. Data Sucker is going to come down. Lamprey is going to come down.
I like the more in this deck.
Daryl realising that no consoles hit the table. And guys, this is actually just right now, as we're going to take the third click of Ben, where the footage is going to cut out here. And I can tell you that what's about to happen, click 3 for Ben, is to install Parasite on Archangel, I believe. And his 4th click is to run Archives. I'm going to just let this agenda sitting on the Sansan and this Archive sit for just a second. And this is the two guys wrapping up towards the end of this game. We got a shot of them as they're both coming towards the end. And this is what the outcome looked like. And what happened was Ben installed Data Sucker, Lamprey, Parasite, ran Archives, and he stole the win with the last Astro. There he is. Ben Fox, your winner of the Bangor Regionals. Really sad not to lose, just to lose the last 30 seconds or so of that game, but it was a fantastic one to watch. A really tense game all the way through, and it came down to the last turn where Daryl's agenda or Ben's last 3 mills and run was going to decide it, and the mills got it. There are the final standings, guys, from the top 8 eliminations, 26 players in all, and it came down to Ben taking the win on the day. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who turned up, for everybody who's watched along with me, and for all the comments and likes and everything you guys have brought. It's much, much appreciated. I want to give a big shout out as well to Replay Games in Bangor, who are fantastic at getting it all organised. So guys, this is Isaac. Thanks so much. I'll leave a link to the event below where you can check out some of the winning decks and have a look at those. And thanks so much, as ever, for watching.